We have come across Gematria many times on this channel. The idea that words can be transferred into numbers and then you can garner some meaning from those numbers. Well, today we're going to visit a channel of one serious Gematria player, and he's taking a look at whether or not the NASA Perseverance rover on Mars was one big hoax. And he's doing all of that using nothing but numbers. Hello all and welcome along to another episode of Tinfoil Tuesday with me, Simon Dan. Thank you very much for joining me. Gematria, as I said at the beginning there, is the idea that you could convert words into certain numbers and then make something of those numbers, usually twisted to suit your narrative. But when I saw a video from a guy who specialises in Gematria in sports talking about NASA and the Mars missions, I simply couldn't let it go.
Welcome back, Truth Seeker. February 18th, 2021. Big news from NASA today. Reportedly, they're going to land the Perseverance rover on the surface of Mars. But the question is it all a big hoax?
No, it's not.
Again, been exposing for years how everything NASA does, and I mean everything, is by the numbers. I have a long chapter about this in my first book, Letters and Numbers.
Wow, what a way to waste several years of your life.
And let this just add to the record. So there's a big relationship with the moon and Mars, as I covered in the book that I wrote years ago. And we'll get to that, but I want you to see that today, the day of this supposed landing, February 18th, the moon and Mars are in conjunction with one another. Something that doesn't happen that often.
It actually happens more often than you think, but hey, let's continue.
And again, today's February 18th, 2021. In Hebrew Gematria, the word moon equals 218. And again, today's February 18th. And of course, in history, we know about NASA's moon landing by the numbers. Or if you don't know that's by the numbers, we'll revisit that.
What's really funny is that if I go to a Hebrew Gematria calculator, I get the value of 230, not 218. But of course, I'm assuming it's the Hebrew translation that equates to 218, not the English version of the word. Doesn't feel manufactured at all.
And now again, another rover landing on Mars, which isn't new, but it's part of the ongoing storyline of NASA's legacy. So in Hebrew Gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words, moon equals 218. Now, there's a person writing articles about me in an Israeli newspaper saying that I am ruining Gematria because there's no evidence that there's any Gematria in the English language, which is absolutely nonsense and lies, and honestly not to be expected from people such as her.
With all due respect, isn't the whole of Gematria nonsense?
And notice how in the base ciphers, Mars has values of 15, 51, and 57, and Moon has values of 15, 51, and 57.
So, they are the same, yes, but in different sections, are they not? Can't really compare them.
Outer space also has that Gematria 57, and conspiracy also has the Gematria 51 and 57, and many conspiracy researchers contend that the moon landing was actually filmed at Area 51.
Oh my days, it's just endless, isn't it?
But again, the Gematria and the parallels are undeniable. And notice how outer space and conspiracy are the exact same in 3 out of the 4 ciphers. If you watch the latest movie made by Hollywood about the moon landing starring Ryan Gosling, you'll notice twice in the beginning of that film, in the first 10 minutes, they put the number 147 on the screen. And I just want you to see how outer space and conspiracy are both 147.
And what's really spooky is the Art House Radio podcast reviewed the film First Man starring Ryan Gosling. And guess what episode of the podcast it was? Number 147. Ooh. But seriously, I checked that opening scene and the only thing I could see that had numbers on it was the altimeter when he was test flying that jet. And if that is what he's referring to, then I believe it was saying 47,000 and not 147. Dear oh dear.
So are things like spaceship. Very special number to the Freemasons. The word Freemasons 147. The Jesuits and the Freemasons are directly related to each other. The Jesuits created modern Freemasonry in Washington, D.C. The Jesuits have been there longer than the federal government, and the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry came in right behind. But again, these numbers are special.
And you could argue that 147 is special to snooker players too. The maximum break, of course.
So, here's what else is very interesting about this. Today's date numerology is 61, and planet Mars has the gematria of 61.
Talk about trying to make it fit. Date numerology and adding the word planet in front of Mars? Absolute joke.
Mars is on a 47-year cycle, and the word time has gematria of 47 forward, 61 in reverse. And realize, all of these rituals are done in time.
Just to point out here that 47-year cycle is in relation to us, from our perspective here on planet Earth, and nowhere else on this solar system. Whew, we've become so narcissistic as a species, haven't we?
But again, time has that gematria of 47 and 61, like planet Mars is 61. Rome also equals 61, and Mars is the god of war to the Romans. So, Mars on the 47-year cycle, time 4761 on the 61 date numerology, on the date of this conjunction, corresponding with the planet Mars, all these things come together.
Into a big ball of manufactured coincidence.
And the launch date for this rover was reportedly July 30th, 2020. That was the 211th day of the year, which is the 47th prime number. It was also a date with 57 numerology. And again, Mars equals 57, as does rover, as does moon, as does outer space, as does conspiracy. And what's interesting is from the launch date to today is exactly 203 days later. Heliocentric equals 203. And again, this is a model that came out of the 16th century in a close time frame to the Gregorian calendar being put out in English standardized with a 26-letter alphabet.
Okay, yes, it's 203 in the reverse ordinal cipher, but you kind of get 4 goes at trying to get the right number, don't you? There's no consistency in which cipher you're using. Hebrew, reverse ordinal, reverse full reduction. It's crazy.
But we're on the heliocentric model that the planets revolve around the sun, which to me, I tend to agree with that model based on how accurate, even if NASA is contriving a lot of their propaganda by the numbers, they still do have the mathematics down for when the planetary alignments happen, the conjunctions, the eclipses, the stars, all of that is perfect. I mean, they prove that every single day.
Well, at least he isn't a flat earther or a space denier. There is that.
Are they proving that they're actually landing on Mars with the CGI models they're going to show us? That's up to you.
But why lie about landing on Mars? It seems pointless making something up like that. For what benefit would you do it?
With regards to 203 days later, in numerology, zeros in the middle of numbers don't really count, so it's like 23. Percy has that gematria 23, and they're calling the rover Percy, which is short for perseverance. And again, the rover launched on a Thursday. It's landing on a Thursday. Thursday is what is related to it is related to Jupiter, but it's also related to Zeus, who's the god of all gods, per the Romans. And again, all roads lead to Rome.
Well, Zeus was god of all gods for Greece, not Rome. He's also god of all gods in this house. Isn't that right, buddy? Zeusy.
If you didn't know this about NASA, their full name, National Aeronautics and Space Administration, it has gematria of 666, again, which is a biblical number.
Oh, of course it does. I mean, seriously, what are the odds?
NASA, the acronym, has gematria of 35, like Thursday. Also like Satan, associated with the beast, and 666, the deceiver. And a lot of people will falsely claim that in Hebrew, NASA means to deceive, which is not true. You guys who say that, you need to research instead of regurgitate what you see in YouTube videos.
I'm starting to like this guy. Indeed, that is not true, and you hear flat earthers say it quite a lot.
And I don't ever expect anyone to take everything I'm saying, as truth. I expect you to research and check to see if what I'm saying is true.
And that is sort of what I'm respectfully doing right now.
And in the 7.5 years I've been here, I've never misled. I have misspoken a few times, and I've always corrected my mistakes. But there are a lot of people who put out false information to mislead, and a lot of those people are in the flat earth community, and those same misleaders will routinely say that I'm a shill and I never expose NASA, which is a blatant lie. I have a book exposing NASA, something I don't know of any flat earther having produced besides Eric Dubé, who uses false measurements to prove his points.
Oh, deep, deep burn there. But seriously, this is a great way to do things, and I would be inclined to leave this alone, but I just can't. Because under all of it, Gematria is just nonsense. It means nothing, and you cannot make any assertions off the back of it.
Anyhow, in Jewish Gematria, which is the most important cipher outside of the base ciphers, which is based on Latin, which was the language of the Romans, Mars has that Gematria of 201. And remember, heliocentrism also equals 201, as does the Jesuit order. And the moon landing in history happened July 20th, 1969, on the 201st day of the year. And the first astronaut to set foot on the moon was Neil Alden Armstrong, whose name equals 201. And if you think this is some sort of coincidence, I encourage you to look into the first Jesuit pope, Pope Francis, who was the first pope to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican. And you can look up what it's called. It's called the Domus Sanctae Martyr, which equals 201, just like his birth name, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, equals 201, just like how the founder of the Jesuits, Ignatius of Loyola's name equals 201. And I'd also encourage you to look up Event 201, the coronavirus outbreak simulation, on the same day as the Military World Games in Wuhan, China, when the Military World Games were created by the Jesuits and the Roman Catholic Church. And they date back to 1995, and the Jesuits were created to counter the 95 Theses and recognized by Rome on September 27th, the day leaving 95 days left in the year. And shortly after the leader of the 95 Theses was killed, Martin Luther, who reportedly died from ill health, but I'm sure he was murdered, the Jesuits kill with arsenic, which looks like, when you die from arsenic, it looks like you died from the flu. But again, not to be confused with Martin Luther King Jr., who assumed the name of Martin Luther and who was assassinated on the 95th day of 1968, a leap year, right before the Club of Rome was established on April 7th, 47. Vatican 47, Francis 47, time 47. Special numbers. This nation's birthday, founded by a bunch of Jesuits and Masons, the 4th day of the 7th month. But again, Mars and Moon with the Gematria overlap. The other thing to think about with Mars is it is the god of war. And
do you know what else equals 201? Gematria Effect Sports is not a good channel. Of course, that is in the reverse full redaction cipher, but obviously still counts. Now just imagine the disappointment that washed over me when I realised that Gematria is Guff and Beans was just 1 over at 202. But honestly, does any of this really matter though? Of course it doesn't, because you could probably find a way to make anything you want equal any number you want. I think we're going to leave Gematria Effect Sports for today. He has a very interesting channel. We may come back and have a look because I'm a big sports fan. But for now, we're all done and dusted on another Tinfoil Tuesday. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it today, please do consider subscribing. I'll be, again, hugely appreciative. We're going for a real push for that 500,000 subscribers. And if you really liked it, then hit that like button as well. I've been Simon Dan. Have yourselves a great week, and I'll see you all on Friday for the final return of Mr. Thrive and Survive. He's banging on about eclipses again. See you then.